Hello and welcome to this video on final keyword in Java. In this video, we'll be seeing about what is final and what are the different types of ways you can use final keyword and few other steps to understand final better. So let us dive into the coding part. So before getting into coding part, we'll understand what does final means. The final keyword in Java is used to restrict the user. The Java final keyword can be used in many contexts. They can be used in variables, methods, and classes. The final keyword can be applied with variables. A final variable that has no value is called as blank final variable or uninitialized final variable. It can be initialized in the constructor only. The blank final variable can be static also, which will be initialized in the static block only. We will have detailed learning of this in this video. First, let us look at Java final variable. So if you make any variable as final, you cannot change the value of final variable. It will be considered as a constant. So let us look at a simple example. So I'll declare a class bike, and now bike will contain an integer variable speed limit, and I'll assign the value as 90. And then I would have a function to run it. Speed limit is equal to 40. So I'll use this function to rename the values of speed limit. So now in my main function, I'll create an object of this bike. Bike A is equal to new of bike. And I'll have my A dot run. So I'm running my bike run. So this is a simple program. Let's try to run this program and understand what happens. As you can see, our code is run, and I'll also try to print the value of speed limit here. As you can see, initially we have initialized the speed limit to 90, and using a method we have changed the value of speed limit to 40. When I try to print the value of speed limit, now I'm getting the value 40. So this is how you normally design a class. When it comes to final variable, imagine I'm converting my speed limit to final. So now you can see the red line showing the final field bike.speed_limit cannot be assigned. This is because the word final makes this variable non-changeable. I can only have one instance of this speed limit value assigned, and I am not able to change. Let's understand what happens in the code. As you can see, we are getting an error. Cannot assign a value to the final variable speed limit. So this is a final variable speed limit. We are going to change the value, but it can't be changed because final variable once assigned a value can never be changed. So now I'll not be able to change the value, but I'll be able to print the value. There won't be any issues on that. Now we'll be able to print the value of speed limit. So these are used in cases where you have constant values. For example, you want to assign a value pi, which is nothing but 3.14. So in such cases, we'll be assigning the value final before the integer data type. So what it does, will not be able to change the value of pi, but we'll be using it in places where you want to multiply. For example, I want to find the circumference, 2 pi r, area of circle, pi r square. So I'll be just calling these functions variables and not actually change those values. So the next case is looking at final method. If you make any method as final, you cannot override it. That's the whole point. So I made some changes to the previous code. So what I've done, I have initialized a class called bike and have a run method which says bike is running. And I'll have a class called Honda which extends this bike class and have the same void run. So now we have method overriding happening. So we have two run functions. When I call this Honda.a, we want this particular void run to happen, and we use method overriding. So let's try to run the program and see what gets run. As you can see, this extended class is supposed to be printed, but since we have a overriding function run here, we get this running. So what if in cases where we do not want this run to happen? We don't want the Honda to run, meaning I just want my extended class to always run. I'll initialize the word final. So what happens whenever I have a class called with the method final and extend those classes, the final methods cannot be inherited or overridden. So I just prevent my overriding by using this keyword final. These are used in real life cases where you do not want inheritance to consider overriding. So you can perform inheritance without overriding certain methods to restrict and limit to, like provide security and comfortable for the user to show what they want to inherit and what they do not want to inherit. So in this such case, when I try to run, I get error. Run in Honda cannot override run in bike. Overridden method is final. So I have to remove this particular code for the code to run. As you can see, bike is running. I do not have any run function here. I just extended my bike. So when I try to run my Honda command, my bike's void run gets printed. So this is about Java final method, the last Java final class. If you make a class as final, you cannot extend it. So what do I mean by that? Yeah, our old code running. I'll just remove this final. So now when I try to run the program again, I'll have my Honda's run. Right. What if in cases where you do not want your class to be inherited at all? I'll make my bike class final. So what happens whenever I make my bike class final? I'll be prevented from inheriting it. So why do we actually need final for a class? We need final for a class where there will be certain instances where you do not want your class to inherit to any other class. You just want it to exist as a modular or a separate class. So in such cases, you'll provide the class with the keyword final, so you cannot extend it up. So let's try to run this program. As you can see, we're getting an error, cannot inherit final bike. So you have to remove this inheritance in order to run, because this final keyword will prevent your class from inheriting to any other class. So now when I try to run this program, I'm getting the answer as running, and I'll have my bike as a separate class. So when I change this code to bike, I'll have my bike running. See, so they can exist as individual classes, but they cannot be inherited at all. So these are the three types of ways where you can use your final keyword. To notice that final method is inherited. Final method is inherited, but you cannot override it. I can use my final keyword, but I cannot override it when it comes to methods. The next thing is we have the option of initializing a blank or uninitialized final variable. So can we initialize a blank final variable? Yes, we can initialize a blank final variable, but we can initialize those values only in a constructor. So what do I mean by that? So the way is that I'll declare a class test main and have a public static void main. So inside this, I'll have a keyword final, int, and speed limit. Let's do the speed limit problem again. So now I have initialized this. Now inside my test main, I'll initialize a constructor. And now within that constructor, I'll assign the value of speed limit to 70. Yeah. So now I'll be able to print this value of speed limit and see what happens. So I'll just try to create the instance of test main. So let me create a new instance of test main and just create a code. Yeah. As you can see now from your public static void main, and I try to create a new instance, this value can be changed. But the thing is, I cannot change it further in my commands. So where are these used? For example, when you want to provide your social security number, it will be created once and we can never tamper that data again. In such cases, we initialize these variables as blank statements, and once the values are initiated for the particular user, they can never be changed in the program. So these are some classic cases where these might be useful. So that's it about final keyword in Java. Hope this video was helpful. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you.